Spring is just a supernatural love story. I think that's probably the easiest way to get people to understand what they're about to see. It's of course a lot of things, and it's not really something that we really talk about too much when it comes to making the movie, the genre, what genre it is. So, but supernatural love story describes it pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, I always see our films as, I don't even though we never talk about it, you just kind of assume it's going to be marketed as sort of character-driven horror or character-driven sci-fi. I just think that our movies are, the characters are so unique, like that they're actual human beings, they're never built from an archetype, that it does get a little bit confusing for people to describe it. But when you ultimately break down the ingredients and all the elements there, they're really not that much different than something like Jaws. It's just that I think that maybe today it's more and more uncommon for genre films to have characters that aren't just, you start watching the movie and you know about the character because you sort of know the character from another movie. When you don't do that today in the year 2015, I think it's particularly confusing to categorize the movie.
I think, I grew up not really on horror films fantasy films and sci-fi, of course, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, that kind of thing. But I think for me, my relationship started probably reading a ton of Stephen King books. I read a lot of Stephen King, and I watched a lot of X-Files. And I think that was more the fringe fantasy science kind of stuff. I think that's probably more where it lies over something like, say, Friday the 13th. That's the only way I ever really like to tell stories, I think. Sometimes we can always get into something that doesn't have a fantastic element, but normally there's at least something wrong, something dark about it. Sort of like a Coen Brothers film feels like it's in some other world, even if it is grounded right here.
Yeah. My only points of reference really for genre film are like Tarantino, Coen Brothers, and Danny Boyle, and then like Lord of the Rings. But I'm not one of those people, like I didn't grow up watching like slasher movies. I don't really know that much about them. So yeah. I think, we both obviously love Europe very, very much. We spend a lot of time here. We try to find every excuse we can to be here. We don't even get into film festivals in America. We get into like 2. We get into only European film festivals. Literally, we get into like 2 film festivals in America, and then everywhere else in the promotion of our movie, it's always typically Europe. And I don't know, there's a couple different things there. Number one, to an American's perception of Europe is that, these are places that by most standards have a higher quality of life than where we're from, by a lot of standards. But so obviously that's going to be an appealing thing, like why you want to be there. So in storytelling, there's always like a wish fulfillment component to storytelling. So it's like I'm sitting in my apartment in Los Angeles, I'm thinking like, where would I want to be? I'd be in Europe. So I'm going to spend my time daydreaming, writing that I'm in Europe. And then on top of that, our movies are been described as quietly mythic, and that they have a lot of times like the mythologies that our monsters have, they feel like this very old thing. That won't quite work if our monster is from Baltimore. He'll have like 150 years of history or whatever. So I think that's another reason why a lot of times our stories, or this story in particular, was set in Europe. Actually, our next movie is set in Europe as well. Okay. And same thing, it's quietly mythic. It's got an old mythology. But yeah.
Actually, we normally use a local crew. We find, there's a film industry everywhere in the world. No matter where you're shooting, you can find one. So often we try to tap into whatever the locals have to offer, and a lot of also. Frankly, we also produce our own movies, and so a lot of local film commissions, they have funds that a lot of places in the United States don't have. And that's not the reason we set it in Europe, but we'll take advantage of it for sure. And so we end up using a lot of just the film commission and the local film culture. And then I think in Italy, we only had, 5 or 6 Americans on set, including ourselves. And the rest was all local. Same with our next film.
It's a movie that we love very much, that we built from the ground up, and it's entirely ours, and we love every frame of the movie. And we genuinely, from day one, set out to make something that was simultaneously, it's a little bit rebellious. It's like we saw a lot of other people using the same monsters over and over again. We thought, okay, let's invent a new one. So there's a punk rock component to it, but the movie also has a really, really big heart, and it's also in some ways like a love letter to the women in our life. We tried to create a female character that our moms and our female friends and our girlfriends would really like and approve of, and we're really proud of that. Very, very sincerely, NIFFF is the best film festival to us in the world. It's our favorite film festival in the world. And it's a combination of things. It's being here in this village. It's the people that run the festival. It's the general feeling of it. And it's also the program. It's the most sophisticated program and the most diverse program we've probably seen anywhere.
I was really concerned, not really concerned, but coming back, I was thinking, man, I wonder if, the last time we were here, it was our international premiere. I'd never been really in a beautiful European town, and, everybody's beautiful, a bunch of free drinks, film festival, it's fun. And I was kind of thinking, now that I've done a few more film festivals, I was thinking, I wonder if I'm going to be a jerk and I'm just jaded to it or something, and I'll come back and think, oh, maybe I just had stars in my eyes. And as soon as we got back, me and Justin looked at each other, nope, it really is. It's that good. It's really wonderful. It's the thing I think that's most consistently above average for us here is the program, opening up the program and finding most movies I do want to see. Whereas a lot of time I go to festivals and I'm like, there's one or two in here I'll take a look at. But I could probably watch every single movie on the program and enjoy myself. So.